So, CNBC has announced 1 hour ago that the House impeached President Trump again. And the sub headline is, here's what lawmakers said during the hearing. Let's see what lawmakers who have not spoken up about the insurrection black people are experiencing at the hands of a European identity extremists. Now that those same insurrectionists have come into the White House and run roughshod and embarrassed them and pulled the covers back and shown how insecure that entire White House security system is, I'm interested to see now what they have to say. And the first person speaking is Nancy Pelosi, who hasn't spoken one word about the black people who've been murdered at the hands of police in America. And by all rights and privileges, she almost lost her life last week. Like, them white folks wanted to kill her. And now she see what we've been dealing with. So let's see what she got to say about this. I can only imagine. That's a pretty mask she has on.
He must go. He is a clear and present danger.
Let me go to the beginning because... Okay, so the video I'm watching is called... It's released by CNBC an hour ago. I don't know if I said that already. It's called The House Impeached President Trump Again. Here's what lawmakers said during the hearing. So let's see what lawmakers said.
We know that we face enemies of the Constitution. We know we experienced the insurrection that violated the sanctity of the people's capital and attempted to overturn the duly recorded will of the American people. And we know that the President of the United States incited this insurrection, this armed rebellion against our common country. He must go. He is a clear and present danger to the nation that we all love.
President Trump put the domestic terrorists on notice by saying, stand back and stand by.
He said that like weeks ago. Why is it now an issue that something has happened? He's been giving these same, I think one of the second speeches, maybe the first one, Donald Trump gave after he became president, he told the police to increase their efforts. He promised them that he would give them the support they needed to continue the good work they've been doing in law and order in America. So now that these same people, because we all know that in 2008, the FBI found out that police departments have been infiltrated by law enforcement, and we know there'd be no way that these insurrectionists could have even come into the White House or even breached the steps without the help of law enforcement. So what we're really talking about here is not necessarily just Donald Trump. We're not necessarily just talking about the insurrectionists. We're talking about law enforcement. And black people have been making complaints and standing up and fighting back and all kinds of things for many years. Many of us have been incarcerated, arrested, charged, convicted for defending ourselves when police officers did what they weren't supposed to do and overstepped their bounds as human people, much less as those who were sent to protect and serve. So why are we surprised that when he said stand back and stand by weeks ago, that now something has come of it? And would it have mattered if that same stand back and stand by was directed at?
Summoned them to D.C., directed them to march on the Capitol. And then he sat back.
But they knew that gathering was happening. It was planned.
Some of my colleagues, some of which may well be co-conspirators, in their latest attempt to placate and please this unfit president, suggest that we shouldn't punish Trump for his actions in order to unify the country. That is the climax of foolishness.
Foolishness.
Let me suggest to them, stand up, man up, woman up, and defend this Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic, including Donald J. Trump.
I rise in opposition to the resolution. At a time when our country...
I'm like trying to understand how this black man is like stand up and defend this Constitution when he knows that Constitution doesn't apply to black.
Needs unity. It is concerning that colleagues have chosen to begin impeachment proceedings against a president with just 7 days left in office. All legal challenges have been exhausted. Congress has certified electors over objections, and Joe Biden will be the next president of the United States. President Trump has indicated he will peacefully transfer power to President-elect Biden next week.
Indicated.
So
Now,
why pursue impeachment just 1 week before?
let me tell you why it's important to pursue impeachment. And this bitch knows why it's important. The reason why it's important to pursue impeachment is because if a president is impeached, there are certain benefits that he no longer has access to, like the lifetime Secret Service, like the $1 million in funding that's available to him. I don't know if it's a salary or a stipend or some kind of health benefit or subsidy or something, but there are plenty of benefits that come with a president who's a former president, and he has no right to access those benefits. He would still, if I remember correctly, he would still have access to some of the security documents. This man incited an insurrection of the government. And there is a woman who actually is playing dumb like they do. You know, the first step of white supremacy communication is denial, right? That's what Tariq Nasheed said. But there's a woman actually sitting here saying, I don't understand why, if he's only got 7 days or 1 day left in office, for the life of me, I just don't understand. Why not just let the fella finish his term so he could go on about his way, bitch? Because if you don't finish like you're supposed to, you don't get what you're supposed to get. And you trying to make sure that man is protected. Okay, I wonder what he owes you.
Say they have to impeach the president because he is too dangerous to stay in power. Yet they say that it is impossible for the Senate to remove him before his term expires. So what is the point?
The point is, put it on the record.
Donald Trump lost his bid for re-election last November. It was a free and fair election. In fact, President Trump's own election security director calls it the most secure election in U.S. history. But for 2 months now, Donald Trump has refused to accept the will of the American people. Over and over again, he's told his
to this end.
The election was stolen from him and from them. And as they grew angrier and angrier over this perceived injustice, he told them there was still a way to keep him in power.
That's what he said.
The president made his move. He directed his supporters to travel to Washington for a rally to stop the steal. They did. He then, once assembled, he had one final request. March on the U.S. Capitol, do what it takes to help me hold on to power.
But he said,
he told them, you don't fight like hell, he warned, you're not going to have a country anymore.
He said, you will pay the consequences.
We've done this before. That have been driving our political discourse. It is destroying us. Let's link arms with one another and begin to heal.
Let's link arms and let's begin to heal when there's been no apology, no retribution, no punishment. Let's just link arms. Let's just forget about it. That's what we're supposed to do. We're just supposed to act like it hasn't happened. When 132 black people were arrested in Charlotte, countless people arrested and murdered in Ferguson. Talking about Baltimore, Florida. I mean, I'm not just talking about 2016, 2015. Let's talk about this summer. How many people face charges for peacefully protesting this summer over the murder of George Floyd? I wasn't in the country, so I couldn't get involved, and that might be the blessing of it all. But I had a good friend named Gloria. Immediately after Justin Carr was murdered by Charlotte Mecklenburg police, Gloria and I somehow found each other in the street, and we hugged and we cried, and she yelled, "Why?" And then about a month later, she was arrested for inciting a riot. And I'm still trying to figure out what she ever did that could have incited a riot. That was a felony charge that was dropped after so much sacrifice from her and her comrades and her family. So much sacrifice, so many things she couldn't do, places she couldn't go, because she had a felony charge on her back for holding and crying with me and saying, "Why?" That's all she did. That's all she did. But this particular president and these particular people have been involved in an entire insurrection. And there's a question of whether or not he should have been impeached. And I'm still waiting for the jail time. I'm still waiting for the arrest, the charges, all of those things that go along with all of those things.